Hey, what's up guys? It's Camsby. I've been playing Apex since launch of February 2019. I've learned a lot over the years. This is my advanced Apex Legends guide. The first thing we're going to talk about, because it's a staple piece to being an advanced player, to being good at the game, and that's recoil smoothing. For those of you who aren't familiar, recoil smoothing eliminates the gun's recoil pattern and you shoot in a straight line essentially. So obviously I use recoil smoothing as often as possible, as well as every other good Apex Legends player in the world, as it really does make a huge difference to your accuracy, your aim, and your overall gameplay. So if you haven't started using it already, today's the day where you start. Another thing we're going to touch on that is going to make a drastic difference in your gameplay and bring you to that next level, and that is holstering your weapon more often. This is a concept that needs way more attention, especially to newer players, but maybe even more importantly to advanced players. Holstering your weapon, guys, is going to allow you to operate at the fastest speed possible. You're going to take less damage. You're going to be able to move from cover to cover faster. You're going to be able to chase down your enemies quicker. There's so many pros to holstering your weapon, and I haven't even gotten to the best one yet. The reason why holstering a weapon is evolutionary for players, if you didn't know, you're about to. When your gun is out, it takes 3 full steps before you can perform a proper slide. Any sooner and you're gonna get a dead slide. And we all know how annoying it is to die from a dead slide. But if your weapon is holstered, you can slide after 1 step. After I mastered this concept, I noticed an uptick in the amount of outplays that I was able to do, the amount of 1v1s, 1v2s, and even 1v3s that I was able to pull off. One pro tip I have for anybody, and this is tailored towards controller players, instead of tapping Y or triangle to holster, I have mine on left stick, as well as tapping it switches weapons. For me, this has been game changing. The ability to not have a scuff and to keep both my fingers on the thumbsticks at all times has been monumental to me progressing as a player. So I highly recommend that to anyone that's not in love with their current controller layout. So far we talked about the best way to do damage, the best way to avoid damage, and what to do once you've taken damage. That brings us to number 3, and that's heal more often. I know that sounds like a very basic thing to say, like, come on Cam, that's not very advanced guide of you, and you're right, but it's still something that I see everyone do so wrong. Just because you don't have a med kit or you don't have a bat doesn't mean you shouldn't be healing. The amount of engagements I get into to where I'm able to pop off 2 cells in between each little skirmish we have and the opponent doesn't totally just changes the whole fight into my favor. If you only have a syringe, pop the syringe. If you only have a cell, pop the cell. But not healing is going to be your biggest demise when it comes to playing a good player, because also being a good player is all about awareness and knowing, do I have enough time to pop that cell, to pop that syringe? And anytime the answer is yes, that needs to be what you're doing. So with that said, don't sleep on the heals. You'll thank yourself for it. Speaking of thanking yourself for it, that's a perfect segue into the next topic we're going to be talking about, and that is going to be grenades, and actually more specifically, arc stars. Today, I want you to change the way you think about nades forever. In a game like Apex Legends, nades are used in a different way than any other game. There are so many different ways you can use nades in Apex Legends, so we're not going to take the whole video to go over every single situation, but just a couple of quick ones. When trying to take height, a sky nade can be your best friend. An arc star is great if you're getting your door kicked in. Thermites are great and they're actually often slept on, but the beauty in a thermite is it's the only grenade that activates instantly. So if you're accurate with a thermite, it's super fucking annoying. With this concept, I thought it would be a little bit easier showing you than talking about it. So here's a perfect example of how an arc star saved my ass. If this video has helped you out at all so far, or you've learned anything, consider liking and subscribing. I make content that is centered around helping you guys improve as a player, and helping people with Apex Legends is what I want to do. So guys, a like is free. All I'm asking is you consider it. I love talking about this next concept because it affects so many different elements in Apex, and that's strafing correctly. Immediately you're probably like, Cam, how the hell do you strafe correctly? How do you do that? What does that look like? Well, I'm gonna tell you. The key to strafing correctly is long strafes, not short, choppy burst strafe. Some of you still might be confused, but don't worry, I'm gonna go in a little bit further. When you strafe long in one direction, it's gonna do a couple things. First thing it does is it's gonna help your accuracy. To make this less complex, essentially, it's easier to shoot your weapon straight if you're moving in one direction rather than left, right, left, right. The second thing it does, and maybe the most important thing, you take less damage. because if you go left, right, left, right, left, right, arguably you're standing in the same position that you were in when you started fighting. So if they have semi-aim, or a bunch of you MNK players are probably just screaming, if you play on controller, then it's going to be really easy to hit a target not really moving. So if you long strafe, not only are you moving from the spot that you started at when you started fighting, but you can also implement a fake. Let's just say I'm long strafing to the right. Well, after several steps to the right, I can fake left once to mess their aim up and then continue going right. The more you do it, the better you have a feel for it. And once you get that feel for it, you're deadly. So yes, highly recommend mastering this. Without this next thing, you really can't be a great Apex Legends player, and that's learning to separate fights. What I mean by that is the ability to understand the situation that you're in. Let's say you're in a 1v2. It is essential that you fight, if all possible, fight only one person at a time. Apex Legends is a game where you can't take on multiple enemies and win at a high percentage. You might get the occasional, you might walk away from one here and there, but I promise you guys, it is not something to rely on. And if you play this game at all, which considering you clicked on an advanced guide for Apex Legends, I'm assuming you have, and you understand that 1v2s where you're fighting both at the same time, exposing yourself to both of them at the same time, doesn't lead to a high success rate. Assuming that you follow Apex, I'm sure you're well aware of who Fade is. Now, not only is Fade great at everything that Apex has to offer, but arguably what he's best at is the ability to separate opponents into 1v1 fights. So please don't sleep on this one. This one's high importance, maybe the most important one to take away from this whole thing. All right, break your fights up into 1v1s, and I promise you're gonna have a lot more fun playing Apex Legends. And at the end of the day, isn't that what playing video games is all about? I have so many more things I could touch on, guys. It really does take so much to become a great player. So if you'd like a part 2, comment down below. I also want to say thank you guys all for making it this far. If you have, the secret call out is going to be 16. So comment both those down below. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe, join the family, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys all had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.